Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. We're starting off the new year. I'm so excited. It's 2024. Yes, and we're so excited to be here. Hi, Coach K. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It's great to be back after the holidays. How are you?
Good. It was just been such a busy holiday season. I mean,
Yes, indeed. It has been like, once Halloween is over, the holidays just whoo, and it just keeps going and going, and it's nonstop. And then you get into almost the second week of January. It's like, ooh.
yes, definitely. Did you have any really like intimate moments that you were able to see with your family?
We did. One of them, because wasn't, the happiest of intimate moments, but my father-in-law passed on November 28th, and his funeral was the first week of December. So we kind of, having family come together, be in the comfort. Those were very, very intimate moments. I've never been in the lead car of a funeral. You see those, and sometimes you're in the back. So being in that close space with my husband and the children, and just being able to share those moments right before a holiday is bittersweet. So we were able to still celebrate the holidays, especially for the children, and just have a real close, intimate Christmas. It was just the immediate family there. So lots of intimate moments throughout the holidays for sure.
Yes, and I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, definitely.
Thank
But I'm
you.
glad that you had a community,
Yeah.
because grief is one of those things that it's extremely difficult and very hard to do it alone. And it's really better when you have a community. And the thing about holidays, many times it brings in that type of community, but it's that intimacy of that shared experience of being fully present.
Oh yeah. Community is definitely everything. Being able to find that specific intimate community is so important to celebrate the life of someone who's passed and still be available to those who are left behind. So community was everything.
Right. And it's a great segue into our topic today as we start the new year off, which is about finding an intimate community. Because, in all honesty, I think, and this is my own belief system, we all need each other.
Yeah.
To get through this journey called life.
Most definitely, because what the kids say, life be lifing.
Yes, exactly. And in that journey of needing each other, it's also that whole spiritual aspect.
Yeah. The belief, your spirituality is important to not you, but to the people that you surround yourself with, because you never want someone to diminish your feelings and your spirituality, or just completely go against yours. And that's not to say that everyone in your community is on the same page, but being able to connect spiritually with that community is, especially with yourself, is super important.
Right. And so, and I'm kind of glad that you said is, many of us come all from different faiths. but it's being able to connect, even though we may believe differently in different aspects, which is what our guest is going to talk about today, which is what I'm so excited about. And starting up the new year in that, talking about finding intimate community, but also from different angles, from different perspectives, how we can all work together, especially in this new year of 2024.
Oh, yes. What can we explore in 2024?
Exactly. So, also, one of the things that we do here every time we have a BIB show is that we talk about the charity of the month. And the charity of the month that we've chosen this month is about stalking, the way opposite of a community, where people have, stalk and harass other people. And so we have a great organization that helps because this happens often. And it's called stalkingawareness.org. It's a great organization to provide education for victims who have been stalked and to keep them safe. So definitely check it out.
That and honestly, your community is super important when it comes to stalking, harassment, because you need people around you that believe you and that will come together to surround you to protect you. So that's a great charity of the month to talk about this month.
Right, definitely. And even as you just mentioned that, even in the sense of spirituality, I think for me, spirituality helps me decide who to trust and who I shouldn't be as open or vulnerable to, you know?
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. So I can't wait to get started. We're going to take a short break and then we'll be back in a moment.
Learn to cultivate a deeper connection with yourself and your inner spirit in order to further manifest a more fulfilling, intimate life. Find your purpose in life, develop unwavering confidence, heal your inner child, and authentically live this purpose every day. It starts with you. Couldn't be further from the truth. Intimacy is not taboo, nor should it cost a fortune. Get your copy today. It Starts With You is available on Amazon, Audible, and...
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Dr. April. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being on this show.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. It's great to be on.
Yes. So John comes from us. He's like had this transformation, I guess, from being like a soldier in the what part of the military were you in?
I was in the U.S. Army.
In the U.S. Army. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, to be this spiritual seeker, to go out and explore. And he created a nonprofit organization. Yes. And it's called, let me make sure I'm pronouncing it,
Kishar.
Kishar.org. Yeah. Yes. And so tell us about this spiritual community that you've created.
As I kind of had this moment of clarity or understanding where I kind of realized the oneness of everything in the universe, I wanted to go out there and create something online because I feel like in the digital age, there's still space where we can have meaningful, authentic connection over the internet, and we could share stories and ask questions, better questions of each other and find better answers, and each practice our unique faith and spirituality right alongside each other.
Okay, definitely. So one of the things we ask all our guests who are on our show is about intimacy. What does intimacy mean to you?
I think for me, it's two different things. It's that intimacy that you have with yourself and that self-love and self-care, and making sure that if you take care of yourself, you're going to be so much better for everyone else around you. You got to take care of yourself first. So I think that intimate connection that you have with the self is so important. And then beyond that, you have that intimate connection with the people around you. And I don't think this doesn't have to be a lonely journey. It can be warmer if we have this sense of community and this intimacy with people around us. And I think we have to be careful with who we trust and who we give ourselves to, but we still should be open to kind of having those intimate connections and fostering a sense of community. And we can do that in the modern age still.
Right, definitely. And so, with you, in the sense, I know you talk about this spiritual community. How do you go about what actually made you make that transition first?
I think for me, spending 12 out of my first 15 years of my adult life overseas in combat zones, I was always in a community. I was a brotherhood, sisterhood, and it was rich and it was great. There were some dark times, obviously. There's a bad part of it, but it was a community. And then when I left and came home in 2015, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really have an identity. I didn't have a community. I didn't have any of those strong, intimate connections that I had all those years. And so I really spent kind of 7 years just kind of trying to heal myself and find my legs. And that's hard to do when you don't have a community. And so I think that is one of the reasons why when I kind of had my spiritual moment, I really wanted to go share with people, because that's what I had done in the deserts, all those years. And I felt like people can help each other. You can be a seeker and a student, but you can also be a teacher. And what you say might not be exactly what I need or want to do, but it could help inform what I'm going to do. And I think we can learn from one another. And so I figured, let's create something where we can make that happen.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I was just thinking, I know in a variety of sessions that I do, many times people don't know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Whether they lose themselves, whether it's just losing it for the kids, for their partner, losing themselves because of being overworked, but they lose themselves. I don't know, Coach K, if you've met people who have just lost themselves, they don't know who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, if you like going through any type of troubles, like in a relationship or marriage, where you went so far one-sided to become one that you left yourself behind. And then I would like to ask you, John, just thinking about the military, because you said the first 12 of the 15 adult years, when you came home, did you find it more difficult to connect with people in the civilian life because of, that military? You get a different type of bond because these are people who are protecting you at all costs. And so did you find yourself more scrutinizing the folks at home, like, hey, I'm not being around people who are not protecting me physically, mentally, emotionally? Did you find that to be the case?
I absolutely did. I found it very hard to connect with people. The world was kind of gray versus anything else. It was kind of washed out for me. And I think that also sometimes when we have our own difficulty or trauma or whatever trouble we're having, it makes it hard to sometimes relate to people, and we feel like people can't relate to us, or they feel like they can't relate to us. And so I felt that very much those first 7 years I came home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you dug further into the spirituality part of you?
I think that we're always on a spiritual journey, whether we know it or not. And so I think that I was on a journey. I didn't know it all that time. And so I think that there's things that happened along that healing process, because time helps as well, that helped me finally have that moment of like where spirituality really clicked for me, where, and belief in myself as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that's great about your belief is the ominous. Yes, which was a terminology that I wasn't quite familiar with. And I was like, wow, I can identify with that.
Yeah, I think that it in that universal idea that all faiths are valid, all religions are valid, all spiritual philosophies are valid. And if you want to be an atheist, I respect that as well. And that we can, I've done a lot of studying over the last couple of years, and it seems like we're all saying very similar things.
Exactly.
And so it seems like we should have make an effort to have conversations with one another, have open minds. We talk about that expanded worldview. And if we have that expanded worldview and we see what other people are thinking and feeling, then that helps us with our own thoughts, and it helps us be part of something bigger in the community and our society, while still maintaining that own individual unique path that we have. Because I do feel that, like you guys were talking about earlier in the start of the show, that spirituality is also this fiercely individual, personal thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be both.
Right, definitely, because everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so we have our individual path, but your something may be different from my something, and how we can help one another in that process.
Yeah, and we never know. I mean, whether you're looking at the teachings of Jesus Christ or the Buddha or Lao Tzu, they say the same thing in a bunch of different ways, because you never know. These great spiritual teachers throughout time, they had to say it different ways, because you never know what's going to work for someone. You never know what's going to resonate with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I share, so my fiance, he's Buddhism. And so we go to our non-denominational church, and then after that we go to his Buddhist temple. Yeah, and then we talk about how, what the shared theme of the day was. Yeah, but you're right, because one is loud and whatever, and the next is quiet. It's the same concept.
Yeah, it's all, and if you look at it's all about loving kindness, right?
Right.
And the other day I was doing a YouTube video the other day, and it ended up being about the golden rule throughout history and time, and how almost every religion or spiritual construct or even philosophy has some aspect of the golden rule, right?
Right.
And it's really just putting out in the world what you want to get back, and treating everybody like you want to be treated. And that's so present throughout all these religions. And so I think that's so important, to treat people how you want to be treated, and also treat yourself how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So people are out there listening, and sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, there's no way that I can find a community. Like, what is one of the easiest ways, because we're talking about this intimate community, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be, a religious aspect, but it's community. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's about, sometimes if we could just go outside of our insulated comfort zone for a minute, and get out of our shyness and go talk to people, and we find that there's these people out there that have similar goals, similar mindsets. They're open-minded, but they want to achieve something that they're working towards, or walk a better spiritual path, or have a more clear idea of what their spirituality is. And sometimes we can't find that directly with our nuclear friends or family. So there's a space out there for people that can help you, and really not help you so much as help you help yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it's about, is that finding out those intimate connections where you can share part of yourself. You don't have to share all of yourself. You can still be protected, but have a safe place. Our spiritual community is online. It's also kind of walled off. So there's no trolls, there's no advertisers, there's none of this background noise. So that it's kind of it's a place that's peaceful and safe, and where you can kind of be yourself.
Good. Yeah, which is amazing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so if people want to find out about your community, how can they get in contact with you?
Our main website is kishar.org. It's KISHAR.org. And that's our main entry to the community. And it's all of our socials are there, and our YouTube link to our YouTube channel, and all of that. And we have things like we have daily affirmations and meditation And we have conversations just like this via Zoom every week. And it's a place where, like I said, you can come and have conversations, and it's a peaceful community.
Okay, wow, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really do appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I love the message that you guys put out in the world.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll take a commercial break and we'll be back in a moment.
Life can be overwhelming sometimes. We think we are a burden to others. We think that it's better to hide it and suppress our hurt, but it's not. As Cave Coral Therapists, we will provide you with quality, confidential counseling services in a relaxing and peaceful environment. Talk to a professional today. Book an appointment on www.cavecoraltherapist.com or call 239-565-6921.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was a wonderful conversation about community.
It really was. And just, knowing the background in the military, and then because many of us have military family, and we see that not everyone that goes comes back the same, and it's really understandable when you're in those situations. So for him to be able to build an intimate community in the civilian world, and it be thriving all these years later, super important. And I think everyone that's listening needs to understand that while we may be the strongest things in the world, you need a community. And a community doesn't need to be 2,500 people. A community could be, two or three really prominent, important, spiritually connected or not people in your life that you can depend on to protect you, not necessarily to do things for you, if that makes sense.
Right, right. And I also want to, as you mentioned, we do need a community. And like you said, it doesn't always have to be a spiritual community, but it can be a community where you can feel that you're getting fed, And so I was just thinking, for some people out there, some other alternatives for a community is find something you can join or go to, and if you don't like it, don't go again. One of the things that I found that I really, when I moved here, was improv. And so I have joined an improv community. And that's different than my spiritual community. I have a variety of different communities, but it all feeds in.
Hmm. It really does. And you're the nucleus of those communities,
Right,
which is amazing. And that's how things grow and people learn about new things.
right.
Because I wouldn't think of improv. So now I might be like, let me find a community here, in my area. So that's how things grow and become stronger and better.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, if you're out there, find a community, whether it's planting flowers, painting, doing yoga, yeah, or simple choir. A lot of people love to sing.
Yeah. This past October for the She Heals Her conference, those women came together and they formed a community amongst themselves of complete strangers from different parts of the country. We had New Jersey, we had Virginia, we had Norfolk, we had North Carolina, but they all came together for the commonality of healing of themselves as women. So now that's a community that's starting and forming that will continue to grow every year. So yeah, this was amazing.
Awesome, yes. So what are the upcoming shows do we have coming up?
And speaking of growing our community, we have some amazing shows that are coming up. So on January the 11th, we have Feminism and Conscious Relationships with Virginia Lacayo. On January the 18th, we have Creating Connections, Bridging the Emotional Gap with Vicente Infante. And then on January the 25th, we have Overcoming the Impact of Pornography on Marriage with Timothy Regal. That's going to be a really good lineup for the month.
Yes, definitely. So we're so excited. And if you've been out here listening, please give us feedback on what you think about today's show. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social medias. I'd like to thank John Lawyer for being on the show, and definitely check him out. And we will see you guys next week. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.